Hello, patrons. This is Gayle. I just thought I'd do a face-to-face intro to for my video this month. It's going to be a fun one. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to be making a picture frame and putting spring flowers on it. So get you a cup of coffee and sit back and watch the video, and then maybe come back and watch the replay and do it all over again. So enjoy the video.
Hello everyone, this is Gayle, and today I'm thinking about making a spring picture frame. Now I'm trying to decide exactly what I'm going to do, but while I'm thinking about that, this is just a frame, a wooden frame that I got from Michael's, and it was $1. Has the little dowel that goes in the back, plugs into this little hole to set it up. But I like them because they're simple, they're square, and you can do so much with them. So I think we're going to make some flowers to put on here. But first, I thought I would go ahead and paint this so that the parts that are not covered in clay will look nice. So I am going to use some gesso, and this gesso is by Martha Stewart's Crafts. I've got another jar of gesso somewhere, but I can't find it. What else is new? And then after I put the gesso on it and let that dry, I'm going to paint it with some silver acrylic paint, because I think whatever colors we put on here for summertime or springtime, they will go well with the silver. I thought about gold, and by the time I get it painted, I may go ahead and use the gold, but right now I'm thinking silver. But I am going to, I'm not going to bore you with watching me paint, but I will at least show you how I get started. You don't lose your little wooden dowel. It was just laying inside, so you want to make sure it's not going to get lost. And this is stapled on, which I didn't particularly care for. But let me get the staple out. Ouch. Still a little difficult for me to work with my finger. Remember, I cut my finger and it's healed, but now where the nail got cut, can you see where the nail was cut? It's beginning to come loose, and that's not much fun. There we go. And let me get a pair of pliers. Just pull that staple out, because we don't want anything to mar our pretty frame. So the next thing I would do is bend these little pieces up, because there is a piece of plastic in here that that protects your picture when you put your picture in here. And be thinking about what picture you want to put in your frame. So I'm going to take this out. Actually, that's just a piece of, I thought it had a piece of plastic in it. I guess not. It's just a piece of cardboard. But this is a good thing to use to see how the size you want your picture, and then you can back it with this. So I'll put that with my little dowel. And I'm going to shake up my gesso. And let's see, I don't want to put it in a deep jar. I was thinking I would put it in a baby food jar, but I think I will just put it on my work surface. It's just, gesso is an acrylic also, but it's like a primer. And I think this has never been used, so it probably has a seal on it. Of course it does. And just squirt some on my work surface, and I've got a brush that's here in the water. And let me get a clean brush. The paper towel I have down there is not real clean. And I'm just going to take this gesso and just mixing it up because it was kind of gloppy. Like I said, it was brand new. It's been sitting for a while, so it needed to be mixed up. And then I'm just going to paint. Now your gesso is just like, it's like you put a sealer on polymer clay. Well, the gesso kind of seals this wood and kind of primes it so that you have a nice smooth surface to paint. And I just like it because wood, especially this cheap wood like this is, it just soaks up paint. So if you put this gesso on first, then your paint won't get absorbed by your wood. So just think of this like a primer. See, it goes on just like paint, but it's also an acrylic, so it's a water cleanup type thing. And I probably ought to get the inside too. You don't know what's going to show. I do know, if you look at this inside rim here will show when you put your picture in, because your picture is going to sit behind it. So you want to make sure you at least get that done. And I could do that when I do the other side, but I want to get this part of the inside done, and I feel like it's easier to get all of this inside area done at one time. So you can see it's a quick thing to do. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it really will help with our project at the end. And just make sure you don't leave any brush strokes, because you don't want your silver paint to pick up your brush strokes. So smooth where it went through there, and then where it comes through here, just brush this to where it's smooth. And then I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to paint the other side with the gesso. So that I won't make you watch, but when I get this gessoed, I'll probably paint the back side, and then I will come back and we'll paint the front side, and then we'll make a cane while that's drying to make our flowers rather to put on our frame. So I'll be back. Okay, I've painted my frame, and while it's drying, I thought I would come in and show you what I was thinking about doing. Oh, I've got to stop saying that. Somebody said whenever they love it when I say I'm thinking about doing something and then I end up doing it. But anyway, years ago, I bought this Wilton, I'm not sure, the book says How to Make Beautiful Gum Paste Flowers. It was some kind of a flower set. I'd no longer have the box. The box got thrown away a long time ago so that I could slide this in my drawer. But there's got all kinds of directions on how to make all these different kinds of flowers. And you see they have a daisy and some roses, and they have a stargazer lily. They just have, this right here is part of a hydrangea, and there's another daisy. And I thought maybe I would put some of these flowers on my new frame that I'm making. So that's what I'm planning for this picture frame. So going through here, I'd love to make all of them, but they have what they call a blossom. Let me show you the parts first. These are the parts. There's two different shelves here. They have a large, medium, and small daisy cutter. They have two leaf cutters. This is a hydrangea flower, and it comes with this to use as a press, so you can use this as a press, and then it also comes with this texture sheet so that you can press it down into the texture at the bottom, and then you end up with a flower that looks like a hydrangea petal. I've never used this, but that's an option. Then they have these three little, they have three blossoms. They have a large blossom, a medium blossom, and a small blossom, and they have the same thing here for those. And these, if you see, it presses in the veins and the texture. So I've got that. This is a calla lily form, and I don't think I know for sure I'm not going to do that one, because calla lilies are a little bit more difficult. Then down here they have an ivy leaf, a hydrangea leaf. They have a large, I believe this is a dogwood. And that's a pretty big dogwood. Then they have the large and small calyx, which goes on the bottom of your flower. They have a small rose and a large rose, and then they have, these are the pieces that go with the calla lily, and they're all color coordinated. See, all these go together to make the calla lily. And let's see, this is a orchid. The orange ones are to make a cymbidium orchid. And, you know, there's just lots of things here that you can do. The rose leaves. So what I thought I might do is try to do, there I am using try again, because if you're watching this video, I've already tried it and done it. I was thinking if I could, I've got this frame, and I'd show you, but it's still wet. If I put a flower at the top, a bigger flower, just say this is the frame, if I put like a big flower here and then some stems that come down, I think that would make a real, or I could put it at the bottom. So I'm thinking about maybe doing some daisies and roses. I love daisies, and I'm trying to think spring, and I actually like these little purple blossoms here, so that's an option too. We can add these little purple blossoms or something like that to the bottom of our flowers, but just to add some smaller flowers down the side. So that's what I think I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to start with a daisy, and I've got a piece of plastic here handy to put it on when I finish what I'm doing. And I'm going to start by cutting two of the medium daisy cutters. I'm going to use 2 of those for each flower. And I want to make sure I get down in there good, and just maybe turn this a little bit, just wiggle it to make sure it's down all the way. And let's see if it sticks in the cutter. No, it didn't. But it doesn't look like it went through all the way. Wonder why that is. Let me try it again. Maybe if I stand up. There's a lot of things you do in polymer clay that you really need to stand up. And this is probably very loud because my head is right next to the camera. Let me see if I can pull the clay up from around it. That's always a good sign that it's cut. Now these cutters are not for clay, these cutters are for fondant. You can find daisy cutters for clay. And you see some of, whoops, threw my cutter in the floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with my little clay tool and try to just trim out or pull out some of this extra clay. Okay, then I'm going to use my little potter's kidney to pick this up. I'm going to put it on a piece of wax paper. And set it over here. And let me see if I can do another one. See, I'll position this one a little bit closer to me. Maybe I just was so far away that I couldn't get good leverage. So let me do this one. Okay, that one came out okay. I didn't think it was. But let me put that there. Well, what I'm going to do is I've got some pieces of fun foam here. And I'm going to take my medium Sculpey tool, the ball tool. I forgot what these are called. And just kind of come down the inside of each one of these petals just to give it some depth. And I know being white, even if I come in, you're not going to be able to see it, but let me try. Can you see here where I've come in with my tool? And it's just to give it a little bit of depth because daisies aren't flat petaled. But putting it on something soft like this foam makes it a lot easier. Now this is just craft foam that I picked up at Dollar Tree. It's a package for $1, all different colors, and I use it for all kinds of different things. And just do each petal. And this has a few little ragged edges. These cutters aren't the best for clay. So you might want to clean up some of your little ragged edges before you go to the next step. But I'm going to do the same thing to the second one. Okay, now I would look at both of them and see which one looks the nicest, and I think this one looks the best. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it on top of the other one, and I'm going to offset these petals. There, like that. Now we need something for the center, and that's where this little thing comes in. This is the, let me come back out. This is a form that goes with this Wilton set, or you can use it by itself. But these are the centers for the daisies. So let me get out some yellow clay. Okay, I've got this yellow clay. It's already been used before, but I'm going to run it through the pasta machine a little bit to soften it up. Much softer. Didn't take long. And I'm just going to press this together. And I really don't need this much. I think I'm only going to use about half of that, but I'll keep the other half in case I decide to make a second daisy. And just roll it into a ball. Make sure your seams are out of it. And press it into this center. And then slice it off even with the top. And try not to cut your mat. And I just like to make sure it's loose. And there's the center to go into this flower. And there's my first daisy. So I think we'll put this on our frame. And I will make a second one. Let me put this aside somewhere. And they do have shaping cups, which I don't have, but I do have these little bowls that are designed to use as molds that I got from Donna Cato. And that one may be too round. I might use this one. But I'm going to just take this paper can be baked. So I think I'm just going to take this and press it down in there just enough that these edges curl up a little bit. So that it's not a perfectly flat flower. Doesn't even have to be perfectly round, just so that some of it is rounded. So I will bake this in the bowl. So I'll get that out of the way. Another option, and these are cutters that I've got from, I believe it was from Create Along. And these also have the little plunger that pushes the clay out. So I may use these for a daisy rather than use this cutter again. This cutter just doesn't seem to do very well. And I'm going to use the largest. It'll still be smaller than the other one. Pull this extra clay out. And the process is going to be the same. And you always wiggle a cutter anyway, but I couldn't get a grip on this one to wiggle it. So just wiggle it a little bit. And there's that one. And I'll do a second one on this one also. And this one I'm going to press the center down to see what kind of imprint it leaves. And this does, it already leaves the little imprints in the leaves, in the petals. And I didn't do it on this one. So I'll do that one by hand. But this does leave a little imprint. Let me see if I can get it up closer to you so you can see it. This one is using the imprint. I don't know if you can see those little lines in there or not, and then this one is not. So this one is going to need some help. It's the only way I know to put it. And I'm just going to put it on this plastic. And I'll still use this one. I think if I don't press too hard, this one will be fine. Already has the little design. So I'll take this one and put it over the top. Again, catty-cornering it so that it fills in the spaces. Well, let me see. There we go. And I'll use this same little ball of yellow that I used before, because it looks like it's about the center is about the same size. And I'll just press it in. Whoops. If you have trouble with your clay sticking to your molds, don't forget you can always use cornstarch. And this time I'm going to take my clay and just roll from each edge just to pick up any little piece of clay that's there, and it also loosens it. Well, actually, it brought it all the way out. And I'll put that in there. Now this mat can be bought separate. You don't have to buy the Wilton set to get this mat. This came separate. Matter of fact, I have another one also. But this one I got for texture, for dogwoods. But I love these little flower centers. So this one I think will go in the smaller bowl. And I may just sit this in the bowl. It's not going to hurt it. And just press it down a little bit. So it'll have a little bit of a curve. So that's my two daisies, and I'll add leaves to it later. So I'm going to put my white to the side. I may use it again. I'm probably going to continue to use these cutters, although I do wish there was one a little bit larger. I like this size, but it's about an inch larger than the other one. But I like them all. So you put these away. Sorry, I'm getting out some little blossoms that are also in here that I forgot I had. See, that's my problem. I have so much stuff I forget what I've got. I think I'll use these blossoms instead of the Wilton blossoms. What I'll do is read the directions in here for a rose. Oh, there's so many. I could put dogwood flowers. I've got a red dogwood out front that's just about ready to bloom. That would be springy, wouldn't it? So let me choose my colors for that, or either the dogwood or the rose, and I'll be right back. Okay, I decided I would go ahead and do the dogwood, since that's a spring flower and it's my state flower. A lot of states have the dogwood as their state flower. And this time I'm going to put the clay. It's a little bit thicker. The clay I used for the daisy I had rolled out to a number 3. And I think maybe that's why it didn't cut very well, because it was so thin. So this time I've left it on a number 1, which is next to the largest setting on my pasta machine. And I've also put it on a piece of fun foam to give it a little bit of cushion to see if that works. And let's just see how this works. I'm going to press this. This way I can also pick it up. Well, it must have cut because it cut all the way through my foam. This is very cheap foam. Like I said, I got it at the Dollar Tree, so it's very cheap. But at least I know it cut. And it's stuck into my cutter. So I'm going to use that to put it down. This mat also has the dogwood. So I'm just going to press, press this out of my cutter. Probably need to use the bigger ball tool. To punch it out. And I'm going to lay it right in there. I'm going to just press, and get it up here to where it has the design. I'm just going to press it to get all, you know, the cutter is a little bit smaller than this design, so you've got plenty of room to press, and this will get your edges a little bit thinner. And what I'll do, I'll put the whole, I'll go to my influencer site and I'll put the Wilton cutters on there, but I'll also put the just the mat, because if you don't do anything else, if you like making flowers, this mat is really nice. And like I said, this is a pretty big dogwood. But it's our dogwood, right? Okay, so I'm going to flip this over. I probably should have used some powder on this since I was pressing so hard. And look at that. Can you see all that texture and design on that? And this also has the center, but I don't think I want to use the yellow. I think I want to use some wasabi. And I probably have some already. Well, this isn't wasabi. This is something with some white in it, but I might use that. Oh, I know what I'll use. I've got some of this bright green pearl. I'll use the bright green pearl. You don't need much. If you could see my drawers full of clay, you would probably laugh at me. But I'm going to take this and ball it up. Make it softer first. And again, I'm only going to need about half of this. And I'm going to press it into this mold. The one next to the dogwood leaf is the dogwood center. And I wonder if this will work. Hope you don't mind me using your project as a test, but I'm thinking this would work just as well as a blade, and it probably wouldn't cut the mat. So again, whenever I do a mold, I like to come in from the sides. And there is the center to our dogwood. Now, any of you that have dogwoods know that there is a little bit of a reddish pink, and I was going to use a perfect pearl to put on there, but I don't have anything that's a pale enough pink. I have this blush, but I don't think that's quite the color I want. Let me just take a brush and try it on some white. Where's a piece of white that's, I guess I rolled it all back into this. I'll just pull a piece of white, see what this looks like, because it looks different on the clay than it does. So you can't even hardly see it on camera. It's a shine, but it's like a pearl type shine. So I'm not going to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do is I do have some Inca Gold. in a pink. That's rose quartz. I might use that, but I will use that after it's baked. So let me, actually, you know what I might do? Where is that Pearl-Ex? I mean the Perfect Pearls. I might put this blush on it because I don't know, we have pink dogwoods and white dogwoods, and the one in my front yard is a red dogwood. So I think I'm going to brush some of this blush color, not in any particular place, just kind of randomly along here, just to add a little bit of color. Whoops, that was too much. I didn't dab it inside my top. So let me just add a little bit more there. That's going to be pretty. Reading the directions for the fondant, it says to brush some pearlized white on here. I don't think I have any pearlized white, but I like that. I love Perfect Pearls. And like I said, this one is called Blush. But let me see if I can get it to see if you can see the colors. I don't think you can on this camera. At least I can't see it. But it's got a pink shine. And I think I'm going to use the large bowl for this one, because I don't want it perfectly flat, but I don't want it curved a whole lot either. So I'm just going to do that one in there. So I've got 2 daisies and a dogwood. I probably ought to do a second dogwood. But we'll see. I'm trying to think whether I should do a dogwood or not. Let me go ahead. Let me re-roll this white clay and see if I have enough to do a dogwood. There you go. I just love these, you know, and like I said, you can add, you can do other things. You can, like I say, if you can find some dogwood cutters, a dogwood stamp. You could stamp a dogwood and then press around it. You could do all kinds of things to get you a dogwood or any other flower. But I just chose to use the Wilton set, and as it turns out, I'm going to be using the others also, just because they did better. But this way I've got 2 dogwoods that are just a little bit different. And you know, I think I'm going to take that big bowl. Where did I put the big one? Here it is. No, because I want it folded out. I was thinking I would use it as a mold to fold it over, but I want it to come up this way. So I don't know, maybe this one will be a flat one. Who knows? But let me put the same blush Perfect Pearl on here. And I keep my Perfect Pearl brushes in with my Perfect Pearl so I don't use them for anything else. I just wish you could see this. It's so pretty. But I think what I will do, and I'll do this on some of the other flowers I've done too, is I will brush. Let me get a clean paper towel. I usually keep one right here. I'm going to brush something on this green to make it shiny. And I have a green verdigris. Is that what this is called? This looks like turquoise. No, that's more of a blue, the blue verdigris. I've got a green verdigris and a blue verdigris, and I never can tell because they're both so light. And I'm just going to brush this green over top of this just to give it some shine. And I'll do the same thing on this one. And try not to get it on your flower, but if you do, it's okay because there's always a little bit of green that comes out here from the bottom. You can't even see that. Just thought I'd see how that looked. So you can hardly see it. That's okay. But I got green on that. And then let me go get my daisies. See, this one I'm just going to bake on a mat, on a card. I've never tried to put fun foam in the oven, and I don't think I want to try with this. There, can you see that pink, the way it shines with that pink? There you go. You can see it better on this one than on the other one. So that's really nice. So I've got some daisies. I've got some dogwoods. I think I'm just going to sprinkle a little sunflower sparkle. I've got some regular gold, but I think I'm going to like this just add a little bit of goldish sparkle to this daisy. Just the center. Into this daisy. There you go. So let me get these over in my oven. This might be all the room I have, and while they're baking, we will work on some of the other flowers. Be right back. Sorry, I just remembered something that I forgot to do, and that was to lift up here where these little creases are in the middle. Just kind of pinch a little bit. Because real dogwoods aren't flat, they have that little pinch. Let me use my needle tool. It's easier for me to work with. So just pinch it a little bit. Right there where that little crease is in each petal. kept looking at that thinking it just doesn't look right. So I went back and looked at my instructions and I saw that that's what I forgot. So I'm just going to do this. I also took this off the paper. Because the paper wasn't sitting right. Now that looks more like a dogwood. So now I'm putting it in the oven. You can probably hear it heating up. Be back soon. Okay, I thought instead of going and making another large flower, I would start working on some of the smaller ones. And again, I'm going to be using these cutters from Create Along. They come in a small, a medium, and a large, and it's just a little blossom cutter. But I'm thinking I'm going to, let's see, the one in here does have, let's see if these blossoms coincide. That one doesn't. Let me see how the large one looks. Maybe I can do a combination. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to cut one there and see if I can put this on the top. I rolled these out at a number 3. And I'm going to push down and see what kind of design this puts in them. See the little design? I think I like that without having to use their cutter. I think I'll continue to use the Create Along just because it cuts better. This is made for clay where the other one isn't. So I'll cut 5 of these just because 5 is a good odd number. It's very pleasing to the eye when it's an odd number. I don't know why, but it seems to be true. Things look better when they're an odd number. So let me put these back on my card, and I will, actually I'll lay them on this way because I can. I really don't have to press it. I can just press with my fingers. And that worked just as well. I see no difference, so I think I'll just press with my fingers. Just lay it on there and just press to get the texture and pull it off. Those are so cute. Now I know these are not, but they kind of remind me a little bit of violets. And violets have a little yellow center. So I'm going to put a little ball of clay in the center and just mash it a little bit. Those are cute. Whoops. And they don't have to be the same size. Just however you happen to roll your little ball of clay. Oops, that's way too little. And I'm just slightly flattening so that they're not perfectly round. But you could use white, you could use green. So there's 5 little purple flowers. Okay, so now I've got some white. And I'm going to get out my little texture thing from my Wilton set. And let's see, how do they do that? I'll use the large. I was going to use the small. Okay, it just plunges in there. And I'm going to cut one. And I'm going to put the cutter in here and then press it down. And that puts the little design in it. And it just pops right out. So I like those. So I'm going to make several of these. And then I'll be back. Okay, I wanted to show you, these are ready to go in the oven. But I made some little tiny white flowers and put some green centers. I made the purple flowers and made yellow centers. And then I made some yellow flowers and put purple centers. And what I did for these centers is I used the same little center here, but I just used a small ball. I didn't use the whole thing. I just stuck it in there to get the texture. So those are ready to go in the oven, and I thought I would also make some leaves. And what I used were the Wilton rose leaf cutters. I have to use another texture mat. And this one are the leaf and blossom texture mat. You've got a thing here if you wanted to texture another flower, but this is the leaf texture. And you would just put it where you wanted it and press down. And then pick it up and you have that texture. I'm going to go ahead and fix some leaves and put these in the oven, and then everything will be baked and we can start putting together our picture frame. Okay, I have taken all of my flowers out of the oven, and I'm just going to remove these from the bowls and get those out of my way. And there's that one. And the center fell out, so I need to glue that back. But anyway, these are my baked flowers, and I think they turned out pretty good. Some of them have a few little rough edges, and if you've got any of those tiny little sandpaper pieces, I thought I had some here at my desk, but I don't. They're back in my sandpaper basket. you can see that you can use those to kind of smooth some of these out, but I think I'm going to just leave mine. I don't have that many places that I feel like need to be sanded. This one looks pretty good. But I did some leaves, and I did the flowers. I did some purple flowers that are flat, and then I did these little white flowers, and I did some yellow flowers. So let me get my frame, and here's my frame. And as you can see, I decided to make it gold instead of silver. When I started looking at the silver, I thought it looked more like winter, and I want something that looks like spring. So I ended up painting it gold. And this is still the Reeves. It's Reeves acrylic fine artist quality. And it comes in a set. It's the gold and the silver and the copper and bronze. And I do have the set on my influencer page if you're interested in it, but I love these paints. It leaves such a nice finish. So before I do anything else, I need to see if I need to add any more flowers. So let me see if I put my dogwoods up here. Or maybe I could do a dogwood and a daisy. Let me do that, maybe that. And then a dogwood and a daisy here. And then I would tuck in leaves. Actually, those are the big leaves. I'll put the big leaves with the bigger flowers. And some littler leaves. I'll even put a couple smaller leaves over here too. And then I think that will be fine. And then add my little yellow and purple flowers all the way around. So that's what I'll do. But first I want to antique not my flowers. I want to antique my leaves. And let me go ahead and glue this on. I'm going to use some Weld Bond because that is my absolute favorite white glue. Weld Bond. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit right there. And I think I threw away all my paper towels in between sessions here. And I'll just lay this on here. And that will dry very well. But I've decided, to antique those. I may antique, let's see, we'll see. You know, when you antique, you don't have to use black or brown or whatever. You can use a lighter color. And I think what I might try antiquing this with a little bit of gold paint. And I need to go back and get my water. I didn't bring any water with me. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do a wash with gold just to add something into the little texture that's on there. Otherwise the texture doesn't show up. And if that doesn't work, then I'll use the brown. But let me go get things set up and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. And I'm going to try the gold and see how that looks on these leaves. And if it doesn't look good, I might just go with a darker green. I'm not going to use a lot of paint because I want it watered down pretty good. And I'm going to use a stiff bristle brush so I can get down into those little grooves. And let me mix this with some water if it's going to mix. I probably put too much paint in here for the size little dish I had. But let's just see. Let me brush this with the gold to make sure it gets down in those crevices, which is where I want it. For some reason, this clay seems to be repelling the water. Never had that problem before. Maybe I should just do straight paint. So y'all are kind of learning along with me. Yeah, that pretty much wiped, all of it wiped off. So let me just do straight paint instead of adding water. Let's see how that does. Let me just get some of the water out of my brush. And I'll use a different leaf. Well, some of that stayed in there. Not enough though. I'm just going to paint it with this gold paint. Make sure it gets down in those grooves. And you can use any metallic paint. It doesn't have to be gold. I just thought if I had gold down in these little crevices, it would help it to match the frame better. So always wipe it off with a dry paper towel, because a wet paper towel is just going to take off all your paint. And try to go across the grain, because what I want is the gold to stay down in there. Now here's a gold. Here's a leaf with the gold on it, and here's a leaf without it. See the difference? And I just think I like the one without it. I might add a little bit of water to my paper towel to get a little bit more off of the surface without wiping it off out of the veins. I don't know how successful I was. No, I pulled most of it out of the veins too. So stick with the clay, with the dry paper towel. Whoops. And being small, these are going to be hard to hold on to while you're painting, but if you're like me and you don't really care, you don't mind getting paint on your fingers, just go for it. Now I'm going to go ahead and do all of these leaves, and then I'll fast forward through it, and when I'm finished, I will come back and we will go on from there. Okay, I have got the leaves finished, and they have just enough shine. See, it's got just enough shine to make, it's just better than, let me show you the back side, than the flat green. See, it just adds just enough to it that it looks a little interesting. And nobody's going to see the back side, so I didn't worry about those. So the rest, I think I'm going to wait and use some Rub and Buff, not Rub and Buff, Inca Golds on. But I'm going to put these aside because I'm going to add resin to these, so I want these to be nice and dry before I do that. So I'm just going to set them aside. It shouldn't take long. See what I mean about getting paint on your fingers? And let me just stick my brush down in the water. Try to wipe it out as best I can. This was the one with all the water in it. That should be easy to clean out. But I'll wash it better in a little while. But right now I can get that out of my way. So while those are drying, let's do some rubbing. I keep wanting to call it rub and buff. I haven't used that in years. I've got some, but I'm going to try some Inca Golds. And you can see I have a rainbow of colors. And I got all of these at polyclayplay.com. And she just has some awesome Inca Golds. So I think I had mentioned I was going to use the Inca Gold on the tips. Let's see, I've got a deeper pink too. I don't know which one I'll use. And you see they will dry out because they're water-based. And all you need to do is spray some water in there and they will get workable. But I think I'm going to use the deeper pink instead of the light pink. And let's see. I could use a brush. I think I'll use a Q-tip. Because what I want to do is just get some of this pink on my Q-tip and just put it here on these tips of this dogwood. Now, I don't know, we have a lot of dogwoods around here. I don't think this is going to work very well. I need something a little bit firmer. So what else could I use? I have a little brush. I don't know if might even dip that in some water just to get this moist. But we have a lot of dogwoods around here, and the wild dogwoods are all white. But then they've, got some hybrids that are pink, and the one in my front yard is red. Now I'm just going to brush this on, and then I'm going to, whoops, I got too much on that one. And then I'm going to wipe it off, because I just want the hint of the pink on the ends. Oops, I'm throwing all my little flowers into my drawer. Good thing my drawer is open. But then I'll do the same thing on the bigger one. Try to be a little bit more careful where I put it. Now you can choose to either, if I buff it off, it's all coming off. So this one I'm going to let sit and just let it dry. I would normally use my finger, but it was hard to get my finger down in that little crevice. Let me wipe that off a little bit. So I'm going to let that sit there and dry. And let's see, what other color would I need? I think I'm going to use the lighter, well, that's a pink. I've got a purple and I've got a pink. I was thinking of putting something on these purple ones. That purple's about the same color, but let me try it. You never know. Now, some of these, when you buy them individually, they have a little cap on them, which helps to keep them from getting dried up. But I have had these for so long. They last you forever. But again, like I said, and you'll get an instruction sheet. If you order any from there, she'll give you, Polyclay Play gives you an instruction sheet. It says, don't worry, it's normal for it to dry up. Try heating it slightly to remelt the beeswax, or add distilled water or rubbing alcohol to the jar. So, I just use water. It's always worked for me. And I'm just going to mix that water around on the top and get some of the color. And then I'm going to just brush my little purple flower and see if this shows up at all. But see the shine that it has? So this really isn't changing the color, which is good. I didn't necessarily want to change the color. It's just adding a little bit of shine. And like the instructions said, this is a beeswax base. So if you want, after you get it on here, you can take a soft cloth and buff it to make it shiny. But I'm going to put resin on everything. Whoops. I got some purple on my little yellow piece here. If it doesn't come off, that's okay. It came off, most of it. So I'm just going to continue to color my purple flowers. And I'll fast forward through this also. Okay, so now I've got that done. Now the yellow, I'm not sure, I probably ought to just use the gold on that. I've got this, the gold I've got in a large container, and it's probably dried out too. Oh, it's not too bad, but I am going to spray a little bit of water on it. But I'm worried about this pink coming off. And it looks like it's down in that brush. So I do have another brush, but it's not as good a brush. Or I could just use my finger. That's what I usually use. Let me get the purple off my finger. And I'm just going to, and if this gets on, well, that's way too much. Too much water. Let me come over here on the side where it's not so wet. It should be like a little bit of a creamy feel. I'm not going to be able to get down. I can get the purple though. Or maybe I'll just do the tips, because I can't get down in there. Let me do the purple and the tips. But if you've never tried Inca Gold, it's awesome. You can put it on your baked clay, and after you put it, you can put it on and then buff it. And I've never even had to put a finish on it afterwards, if you happen to like that look. Got my finger too wet. But you see, I had, this is the before and the after. It just adds enough to it to make it not look quite so blah. You know what I mean? And I think I'm going to just leave the white the way they are. I don't think I'm going to put anything on the white. And try to get it off my finger. I probably should just go wash my hands. So now those need to sit and dry a little bit. So in the meantime, I'm going to get out my resin. And this is the Tiny Pandora Deep Shine Brush On UV Finish. And it is awesome. If you haven't tried it yet, you really should. And I'm going to pour a little bit into this little cup. And I try to keep the box closed because I don't want any UV light hitting my closed container. And let's just start with the big ones. I'm going to just take, this is the brush that comes with it. You store it in foil, which keeps the light out, and then your brush stays nice and soft. But I think I'm going to just brush over the middle. I'll do that first. And I'm going to put a couple of coats on here, I think. I'm going to do some really thin coats. And I'll see what it looks like after it's cured under the light. It's really bringing out the shine. Remember, I put that Perfect Pearl on here, the pale pink, and it's really bringing that out. Just go slow and try to not create any bubbles. And I just go from the inside out. You know, I've gone from somebody that didn't like to add anything to my polymer clay to wanting to put resin on everything. I think that's all covered. I'll put this over here. I have another piece of foil. It's got a slide out tray, but I put the foil on there just for some reflection. And it's easier for me to move them around if they're on the foil. Let me get the middle. Then I'll just come out on all 4 petals. Just make sure you get everything covered. When there's a little crevice, just make sure the resin goes down in the crevice. See how pretty? So I'll do a few, let's see, what else can I do? I probably can fit the daisies on the same piece of foil. So I will do the daisies. And there's a second layer of petals under there, so you want to make sure you get this down on those 2. Or else you'll have shiny petals on the top and not shiny petals on the bottom. So I'll just make sure those are coated, and I'll go back over the others again. I don't know if you want to see closer what I'm doing, but I'm just brushing on resin. It's really not necessary to see every little step. And I'll do the big daisy. I like that they're not flat. Remember, I baked them inside that bowl. So I like that. I like that it's got some dimension to it rather than just being a flat flower. These purple ones are pretty flat, but I'm going to try to help them along a little bit with some clay. Oh, now one thing I didn't ask is whether you can bake this resin after it's been set. I'll have to find that out, because it might make a difference in how I finish my flower, my frame. But I'm loving, loving, loving this. Looks like I got all the leaves. Okay, and I know you can't see, but I've got my light right here behind me. And I'm going to set these in there. And turn that light on. And it shouldn't take but about 5 minutes because it's pretty thin. But I don't want to take any chances. I'll just leave it in there until I'm finished with my leaves. That's going to be my next thing I'm going to coat. Let's see. I think I'll coat them on this. But the resin is going to, seal this gold in. It's also going to give it a nice shine. I just wanted to show you that when you have something tiny like these little flowers, you can take the flower to the resin rather than the resin to the flower, because they're so small. The brush is much bigger than what you need, so just take it and run it across the brush. Okay, I went ahead and finished everything, coating it with the resin so that I could go ahead and put everything away. And I'm going to turn the camera off for a few minutes and clean up my workstation. I've got resin all over my hands. And I'll come back and we will check the dogwoods and see how they look. So I will be right back. Okay, well, my last batch of flowers is being cured under the light. I just wanted to show you how these turned out, how shiny. And they're so fragile. I don't think I'm going to put a second coat on because it's got plenty of shine to it, and they just look so fragile, these dogwoods. I love them. They look very real. And so I thought what I would do, because I don't know if the resin can be baked, I'm choosing on the side of caution and deciding not to. I'm going to just kind of actually I won't need the leaves until later. I'm going to leave those till later. See how those turned out, how nice and shiny? Oh, I just love this resin. I think what I'm going to do is add my polymer clay to this for the other pieces. Like we're going to have some little stems and branches and vines or something. So I rolled out some of that same scrap clay that I used for the leaves. Isn't it funny how you can mix up your scrap greens and come up with something really pretty? Actually, this was a mixture of blue and green and yellow left over from one of my other projects. But I'm going to just take a section. I'll go ahead and cut several. I'm cutting sections that are about as wide as they are thick. And this is the thickest setting on my pasta machine. Let me see, it's 3. This one didn't get cut. 4. I'm just going to cut several of these because I just want to have enough stems. I may even roll some into little tendrils that will hang from something. I don't know, we'll see. But this is the fun part of the project, is decorating the frame. And what I'll do is I will bake these little stems on the frame, and then when that's cooled, then I will glue these on. I just feel better doing it that way. So let me just roll some stems. And try to, you know, they don't even have to be all the same size. You can just roll. And if I have this, maybe like that, and I'll have a stem coming out from this one, and I may just go like that. And that'll be for that flower. And then I'll roll another one. And then what I can do is I can place some leaves along this. So that's going to be nice. And I don't mind gluing. Weld Bond is a good glue. If you don't have Weld Bond, you could use the E6000. Is that what it is? 6000? I've never cared for that glue. Only because of the way that it goes on. There's nothing wrong with the glue. It's probably a very good glue, but it's just difficult for me to get a handle on sometimes. So let me make this a little skinnier since this is a smaller flower. And it'll get thicker as we go down. So this will be for this flower, and I'll just have that coming out and maybe around in a little circle. So I can actually take these off now because I've got my little tendrils on there where I want them. And then I'll do the same thing with my dogwoods. I don't have enough room for the frame and to roll clay. Isn't that a shame? One day I'm going to have a really nice big work table. And I've got a piece of tempered glass that was part of an entertainment center that I had. And you know, polymer clay people, we don't ever throw anything away. So I think I'm going to have this coming out like that. And maybe I'll just have it twist a little. That's not the way they are on trees, but this is not a tree, it's my frame. But anyway, I'm going to be putting some of those little purple and yellow flowers and white flowers in different places too. I just need to make sure that the stem for the flowers, now I'm going to press it down a little bit better. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm going to want my stems for the flowers. And then what I thought I would do, although they're in the oven, the flowers are still in the oven. They're under the light. I'm sure they're done. Let me see real quick. Yes, they're all done. And I'm just going to leave them on here just so they'll have a home for a little while. But say I put this here and this like that maybe. Then I thought I could take these little flowers and maybe put them on the end of this. So that you can't tell whether that's for the yellow flowers or for the dogwood. And then I'll do the same thing. I've got these little white flowers. I think I'll move those down here. Actually, I'll do several. I want to make a bunch of these little white flowers. But all this will be done after the green bakes on there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and bake. I'm going to take all these off. And we'll play with that after we're done. But I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven and bake these tendrils, these green pieces, on here. And then they will probably pop off and I can glue them on. I could probably take them off of this. Wonder if that's... No, I think I'm going to leave them there. So I will be back in a little while with the green stems will be baked, and then we'll put all of this together. Be right back. Okay, our little stems are cooked. I probably ought to pop them off and glue them back on. Although they seem to be stuck pretty good. Maybe it's stuck to the paint. So I won't do that yet. But now's the time. This is the fun part. We get to decorate. So let me first, this is the bottom. So this is the way it's going to look. And I think I want my maybe I'll put those over here. I have to think about this a little bit. I guess that goes there. I should have looked, I didn't look at the design when I was placing my flowers before. I probably would normally have put something over here. I could put a... No. Forget that. I will just do it this way. Just kind of see where I want to put them. And then I'll go the other way just to see. That's the large one. I'll put that in the center or on the end, that corner. I could do that if we overlap up the picture a little bit. But it's funny, I had these all figured out before and then baked them, and now I don't remember how I had them. I might have to go back and look at my video. How about like that? And then like this. I think that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing. I don't want to, I'll fill in everything else as things go along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a small tile and just put some of my Weld Bond glue on here. That's probably way more than I need. And I don't see my paper towel, so I'll get another one. That's one thing about paper towels. There's plenty of them here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'll take this one and I'm going to dip it down in the glue and put it where I want it. And I'm going to dip this one in the glue and put that where I want it, and we'll see. I forgot how I had them, like that. Let me turn it this way. But just press them where you want them and hold them for just a second. And I'll do the same with my daisies. I don't normally dip like this. I normally put it on with my finger, but since everything is so nice and round, I think dipping will be just as easy. There we go. And I'll hold these in place just long enough for the glue to kind of grab. Weld Bond is like any other white glue. It will dry clear. So if you happen to see any that you don't, that's where it shouldn't be, that's okay. It'll dry clear. I think those are pretty stable. Okay. Now, next I'm going to go with some leaves. And I think I'm going to put a leaf right down in here. I'm popping these things up, but it'll stay wet for a little while. So I'll put a leaf in there. I'm already using a bunch of glue, but I just want to make sure these things stay on. Be ashamed to go to all this work and then they will not stay on. And I'll take another leaf. You see, I'm putting glue just like on the bottom, because the whole leaf doesn't have to be glued. I might put this one over here. And just keep placing your leaves where you think they would look good. I'm going to use a smaller leaf next to this, and I'm just going to put that up next to that stem. It doesn't have to be attached to the flower as long as it's on the stem. And I'd like to put 3 leaves. So let me see how many of each I've got. I've got 3 big ones and 4 little ones. So I will take a little one and maybe add that here. And another one. I'm going to use a big one to maybe come out here. And I'll put it up next to that stem. And just take a little tool or whatever you've got, just something to hold it down. If you can't get up in there yourself, it's just nice to have something like that. And I think I'm going to add some purple flowers. Now this I probably should have just dabbed. I'm going to put a purple flower here. And I'm going to just use my little skewer here. And put one on this side. Let's see, how am I going to do this? Like maybe right there. Another thing I like about this being a white glue is you can move things around for a little while. And I think I'm going to put this directly on here because I want a pretty good glob. Because I think I'm going to put this across on the stem. And let me see. Yeah, I'll do that again. Just want to make sure that when you're doing this that I'm letting this dry, and I shouldn't. I'll just do it this way. I need to wipe this top off because it's such a small slit, it doesn't take much for it to get clogged up. So I'm going to push that down so that the red comes up through there, and I'll go back to using my pick. But if you're going to be putting it other than flat, it's always good to have a good thick layer of glue so that it will stick to something, whether it's the stem. Let me just make sure this is where it needs to be. Yep, it is. And that's where that needs to be. So when this dries, I like that little cluster. And let's see, I've got these yellow flowers. And I might put those I might put a few over here. When I say a few, it'll probably be 3, because things look better to me if they're in 3s. Sorry if you hear my TV in the background. I was in the other room listening to the TV and then came back in here and forgot to turn the sound down. And I'm going to need a little something to wipe that glue off. I just like these little clusters of flowers. And I've got 2 more yellow ones. And I might set one over here. And I'll put another one next to it. I'll put them both on the outside. And I've still got 1 purple flower. I'll need to add that to the cluster somewhere, but I was kind of waiting for this to settle a little bit. And I think I will just come up this way. Now if you would like to use a different kind of glue, I'm sure hot glue would work well. I just, to be perfectly honest, don't have any place to put my hot glue gun while I'm here. But I'm going to go ahead and put these little purple flowers. Actually, I think I'll mix those in with the white ones. I think I'll put a purple one there. And a white one. I'll put several white ones here in like a little cluster, maybe around that purple. That would look kind of cute, wouldn't it? Almost like the purple one was the center. But this is all however you would like yours to look. You may have different kinds of flowers than I've got. It's one good thing is you can just kind of do your own thing here. I've got glue on my fingers now. Probably ought to move that purple. But I'm just going to continue placing flowers. And I'm going to add more glue. Weld Bond is also a water-soluble glue, so when you're finished, it will clean up with soap and water, which always helps. And I'm going to put one more. Whoops. So there's a little cluster of flowers. I hope these are sticking where I want them to stick. That one is. This one I'm not, yeah, that one is too. So just push them back where they need to be, and they're up against the stem. And I may even stick a little leaf . This doesn't stick as quickly as some other glues. But I kind of like the idea of being able to move it around until you're ready to just let it sit and dry. And let me just take a little leaf and maybe I'll come off here. And I'll come off maybe here. Like I said, I don't mind leaving that. I'd rather not leave quite that much. You can remove some of it if you want. Just take a Q-tip and lay that back down on the glue, and it will stay once it dries. I did the same thing on this one, didn't I? I had too much glue. There, that looks better. And then I've got this corner up here where I'm going to put another cluster of purple and white flowers. And I'll put a leaf there too. Then maybe use that to help hold the white flowers. Let me come off this way. This time I think I'll put the white ones down first and put the purple ones on top of it. Oops. Good thing I have this drawer here. Everything I did would end up on the floor. I started opening this drawer because there's so many things in it that I use, and then found it really is helpful when I'm messing with pieces, because then it won't fall on the floor. I was spending a lot of time getting things up off the floor. Glue on my fingers. I can't get anything where it's supposed to go. Now, I've only got one more little white one, so I'm going to put it on there somewhere, even if I just put it right there. And then I'll use these two little purple ones kind of in the middle. Whoops. And there we go. So that is our summer frame. Now after this dries, things will be more stable. I can't turn it up right now because the glue is not dry yet. But I would let it sit maybe an hour to make sure it's good and dry. But I think that is really cute. Put a picture of your children or your dog or your cat and, you know, display it on your table. I think it would be awesome. So I hope you like this. And I've got 2 leaves left over. I don't know whether to try to put them on here or not. Do I have room for them? I think I do. But do I have enough glue that's not dry? I'm going to use everything. All the trouble we went to, or I went to make them. I would certainly want to use them. So let's put this one out this way. And I did it again. I don't know what's with me. As the way I'm laying it down, I think, is pushing the glue in the opposite direction from where I want it to go. And then I'll put the other one. Maybe this way it won't be so much glue squirting out. I could put one over here. Actually, I could move these. Put that there. And then put these on top of the leaf. How's that? Just play with it. Get it the way you want it. But there you go. And like I said before, these frames are only $1, and which makes it very affordable. And I know I saved the cardboard that came out of it, but I can't see it right this minute. But that would go in there as a backing for your picture. But I think that makes a pretty summer, spring frame. What a nice gift this would be for somebody. So have a great day, and I will be back again soon. Bye-bye.